Does your morning ever start with that feeling of dread? Like you're already behind before you've even had your first sip of coffee? Well, we're going to talk about how to reclaim your morning. We'll break down a super simple, science-backed routine with 3 key habits to try before you even think about looking at your phone.
So let me ask you this, and be honest, is your phone the very first thing you see in the morning? If you're that person who rolls over and immediately reaches for it, you are definitely not alone. But here's the thing, that one single habit, it might just be setting your entire day up for anxiety.
Does this sound familiar at all? Your chest is already tight, your mind is just racing, and you feel completely behind on the day. The thing is, this is a super common experience, but it doesn't have to be your reality. So let's get into the why, the biology of why this is even happening.
Okay, so to really understand why mornings can feel so incredibly overwhelming, we have to look at your biology. This isn't just something that's all in your head, it is deeply rooted in your hormones.
Everybody meet cortisol. It gets a bad rap as the stress hormone, but it's not all bad. It's actually part of your body's natural wake-up call. See, your cortisol levels are designed to be at their highest point in the morning. It's something called the cortisol awakening response, and its job is to get you alert and ready to go.
But this is how we completely hijack that natural process. That first bar, that's your normal morning cortisol, doing its job. But that second bar, yeah, that's your cortisol after you add a dose of news alerts, work emails, and social media drama. You are literally pouring gasoline on an already burning biological fire.
And this is the real kicker. By immediately flooding your brain with all that digital chaos, you're tricking your ancient nervous system into thinking that you are in immediate physical danger. Your body, it doesn't know the difference between an angry email from your boss and a tiger hiding in the bushes. It's all the same threat.
So it all boils down to this. You're starting your day in a reactive state, just letting the digital world dictate your mood and your stress levels. The goal is to flip that switch, to shift into a proactive morning, where you are the one calling the shots.
So, how do we actually do that? Well, the good news is you can absolutely retrain your body and your mind to wake up feeling safe and calm. And it all comes down to a really simple, totally actionable 3-step toolkit.
All right, here's our 3-step toolkit. First, we're going to talk about how to intentionally set a calm tone for the day. Second, we're going to sync up with our body's natural clock using light and movement. And third, we'll learn how to fuel our bodies in a way that gives us stable energy, not more anxiety.
Okay, let's dive into step 1, set your tone. The whole idea here is to create a kind of mental buffer, a protective space between the time you're asleep and the massive wave of stimulation that comes from your phone. It's all about being intentional.
And this can be anything, really. It could be just 10 minutes of mindful meditation, jotting down a few thoughts in a journal, maybe a moment of prayer, or hey, even just putting on some music that makes you feel good. The specific activity doesn't matter nearly as much as the message you're sending your brain. And that message is, we're safe, we're in control, there's no tiger in the bushes.
Now for our second tool, which is all about tapping into our biology, light and movement. This step is about working with your body's internal clock, not trying to fight against it.
The mechanism here is actually surprisingly simple. When light enters your eyes, especially morning sunlight, it sends a direct signal to your brain that says, hey, time to be energetic and alert. It's honestly one of the most powerful and totally free ways to regulate your body's clock and shake off that morning grogginess.
So really try to get outside, even if it's just for a few minutes. And while you're out there, a little bit of movement is key. See, when your body is flooded with that morning cortisol and adrenaline, the absolute best way to deal with it is to physically burn it off. A brisk walk, or even just 5 minutes of simple exercise, can make a world of difference in releasing that physical tension.
And finally, we've got step 3, which, let's be real, might be the toughest one for some of us. Fuel, don't frazzle. This is all about what you put into your body first thing in the morning. Specifically, we're talking about caffeine and food.
So this shows 2 very different paths you can take. On one side, chugging caffeine first thing just supercharges your adrenaline, leading to jitters and agitation. But on the other side, having a protein-focused breakfast first gives you stable blood sugar. This helps you completely avoid that wild energy roller coaster that, let's face it, feels a whole lot like anxiety.
So let's bring all this together. Taking back your mornings from your smartphone is seriously one of the most empowering things you can do for your mental health. It all comes down to making a conscious choice. This right here is the core takeaway. You have the power to start your day in a proactive state of calm and control instead of a reactive state of panic and dread.
You do not have to live with that constant morning anxiety.
Look, retraining your nervous system, it doesn't happen overnight, but it all starts with one small intentional choice. So the question I want to leave you with is this. Which one of these 3 habits are you going to try first tomorrow? Will you set your tone, get some light movement, or fuel your body differently? The power, it's really in your hands.